Here's my review of the RB Customs Superpowers Atom figure. I've always loved the Atom, not quite sure why, but always loved the character and feel bad when he's left out of things. Feels like DC's sort of incomplete if he's left out of any key storylines. And it was interesting that back in 1985, the second line of DC Superpowers figures comes out. You get Green Arrow, you get Red Tornado, you get Firestorm, you get Martian Manhunter, you get Dr. Fate, but no Atom. And I really actually didn't know, I think, much about Martian Manhunter, and I didn't know anything about Dr. Fate at the time. And it would have made so much more sense, given even the brief exposure he had in Super Friends cartoon series, to see the Atom show up. So this is a character that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and I always wanted to get a Superpowers version of this figure. I've used a very small Atom figure that was back in the Total Justice line back in the day. I think it was the Total Justice JLA line that was in KB Toys. I was able to use that as kind of my approximation of Atom in the Superpowers universe at sort of a very, very small scale. But was never able to get like the full figure until recently. And you'll see one of my earlier reviews is off a very, very nice custom by another customizer that was very well done. But this is the RB Customs version. And as you guys know, everything done by Roan is very, very, very high quality. He does some customization with the sculpt that is very unique and, you know, builds it from an existing base. So in this case, he's used a Flash figure. You can probably see that from some of the elements to start. And has the very nice, you know, RB Customs matte paint job, which really makes the muscles jump. I always say how cool it is that you get to see the muscles just jump out on these figures. And, you know, the head sculpt, again, sculpted from a Flash figure, this entire figure, including the head, but resculpted without the winged ears, and the head has been transformed into Ray Palmer. So very, very cool, very, very cool figure. You also get the Atom logo on both the head and the belt. So those things very, very jump out nicely, and this belt was customized and made for this figure. I didn't try the power action to see if it works. And yeah, it works a little bit. Like the running, if I want to do running action as the Atom, I could do that. But overall, it just really has that Atom vibe. And you know, with me, I'm big on scaling, and I want to make sure that figures are the right height compared to each other. And so I use the DC Who's Who style guide pretty closely. The nice thing is Roan had scaled up his version of the Flash to be more in line with the height that it should be. And Barry Allen, if you look back at the original style guide, I think he was listed at 5'11", but then they revised that pretty quickly to, not style guide, excuse me, Who's Who guide. They revised it from 5'11" to 6 feet. And this is pretty close to the 6 foot tall reference in my Superpowers world. So he fits pretty nicely. Ray Palmer's supposed to be 6 feet tall. Ted Kord's 6 feet tall. Barry Allen, 6 feet tall. These figures all fit together very, very nicely in the same universe. They're scaled correctly. Again, it's one of these weird quirks that I have. I don't like it when things are just completely out of scale in the same action figure line. So one of the cool things that Roan does is, as you can see with some of this rescaling work, he's able to increase the length in the legs and in the torso from time to time to make these figures very unique and different. So yes, while there is some similarities in the arms of the Flash, for instance, there's enough difference that it almost looks like these were completely different figures, that the base doesn't even exist anymore. So very, very cool differences in those two. But love the Atom, love this version. I've waited a long time for this figure and starting to sort of complete that Satellite Era JLA. So I'll leave a link to RB Customs in the comments, and please feel free to leave your comments and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.